Hello friends, and welcome back to another tutorial. So today someone had requested that I show how to do these little star gloves, and I've always seen them around, but I've never made them. I made a few just to kind of test things out, and I am going to show you how to make this one in specific. This one I followed a tutorial on how to do, which I really do like it, but what I don't really like is how this kind of pulls down. So I added these little extenders on, not only for my own comfort and just the way that I personally like it. I think this just fits a little bit better. Also, everyone's hand is different. So I feel like this can kind of add extra length for people who might have different size hands, because the tutorials I see are kind of like a one size fit all type of thing. Now for these middle pieces here, you can add letters, you can just add pony beads. For me, I went ahead and added some base head beads. I have all these super fun space star themed beads. Hard to choose which one. If you guys are interested in base head beads, do remember that I do have a little promo code to get you 15% off your next order at checkout. Just use code FEEDRAGON. Now I have done both strings. As you can see here, I have a clear elastic string, and on this one I have a corded. Both work fine, but if you've been on the channel for a while, you'll know that I prefer an elastic cloth string because plastic will eventually dry rot. Although, ironically today, I'm going to be using this. Now, we are going to start with our star. This is going to feel really similar to just a regular candy star, but instead of the 3 points, we'll be adding 4. Or if you've never made a candy star before, I'm gonna show you how to do it. So I am going to base my design off of this base head bead here. I really like the colors. And to start, we're gonna take one end of our string and we are going to add 10 beads down the string. It can be any color, any arrangement, it just needs to be 10. And now that we have the 10 beads on, we are going to tie it off. And we do want to make sure that we tie this kind of tight, or else our star isn't going to have a shape really. I'm going to go ahead and cut off this tiny tail. Now we are going to add 4 beads onto our string. So for me, I'm just going to do this blue. All right, so we're going to take 4 beads of any color onto one side of our string, and we are going to, Okay, so with our beads strung on, we're going to want 4 beads of any color, and we are going to weave it over to the next bead over. Now direction is important here. If you take your string and you go like this and it weaves over the bead like this is not the direction you want to start. It should go in this direction. Once you figure out what direction your string should be going, we're going to take the string and we're going to skip this middle bead and we're going to jump over to this bead here. And we pull. So we should look something like this. We are going to take 4 more beads on our string. We are going to skip this middle bead here and we're going to jump to this bead. And we pull. We're going to take 4 more beads. We're going to skip this middle bead and jump over to this bead here. And we're going to pull. And we're going to take 4 more beads. We are going to skip this middle bead here and jump to this bead. And our last row of 4 beads, I'm going to take my string, I'm going to weave it through this orange bead here. I'm going to go up these 3 beads here. And I'm going to pull. And we should have something looking like this. Now what I'm going to do in a step I'd only recommend if you have the clear elastic string like what I'm using, I'm just going to give this a few ties I'm going to take my string, I'm going to loop it through these beads here, and I'm just going to give it 1 or 2 ties. This just kind of holds it in place because plastic string has really no grip to it, has no friction. So this just kind of helps hold everything in place. All right, so now we're going to work on these points here, which we're going to need 5 beads for. So I'm going to take 5 beads. For me, it'll be purple. And I'm going to take my string and I am going to weave it over to the next points. Again, direction is important. If your string is going over the beads like this is not the direction you want to go in. You want to go in the direction that the string is facing out of. So I'm going to take my string and I'm going to weave it into these 2 beads here. And I'm going to pull. And this is what we should be looking like. I'm going to take my 5 beads and I'm going to weave it into these 2 beads across, just like before. And I'm going to pull. And I'm going to continue this all the way around my 5 beads, and I'm going to weave it into these 2 here. I'm going to take my 5 beads and I'm going to weave it into these 2 beads across here. And pull. I'm going to take my 5 beads and I am going to weave it into these 2 beads here, but I'm also going to weave it up these 3. So we want our string to be sticking out of this point here. Alrighty, and this is what we should be looking like. I'm gonna make sure that everything is sticking up properly. I'm gonna give this a pretty good tug, and then once again, I'm going to take my string, I'm going to loop it under, and I'm going to give this a few good ties. Once again, not fully necessary, but just something I like to do when I'm using clear elastic. Alrighty, now that that's all tied together, I am going to leave this string on. So for right now, we're just gonna ignore this piece. And we are going to work on the candy single aspect of this. Now, once again, everyone's wrist is different. When I first made these, I made this piece way too big and then I made it way too small. At least in my experience, it's gonna be slightly smaller than a candy single. We want this to fit like perfectly snug around the wrist. Normally like a candy single, you leave a little leeway, but for this, we want it to fit snug. So I am going to take a new piece of string. I'm using quite a bit just because with my nails, it's really hard if I don't have a lot of string. So now, like I said before, this is just a regular candy single, so you can make whatever pattern you'd like. I'm just gonna do an alternating purple, orange, and blue. For this piece up here, I used 21 beads. So if you're looking for a basis to go off of, that's what I used. So with all my beads strung on, I'm going to flip my star around. Now, wherever side of the string is sticking out of, we're gonna go to the 2 points back here. Because remember, this is gonna be pointing towards your finger. This piece is gonna be pointing towards your wrist. So I'm gonna take my string and I'm going to weave it through the first part of my star. Now for this middle part here, you don't have to fill it in if you don't want to. I just think it looks really cute. What I found for me works is 2 beads on one side and then the middle is a base head bead. I'd say a base head bead is about 2 beads long. So roughly about 8 or 9 pony beads depending on your side. I'm gonna take another purple and then a blue. And then I'm going to add on my base head bead here. And then another blue and a purple. And once you have those beads strung on, you're going to take your string and you're going to weave it through the other point of your star. And before you tie anything, make sure that you like the fit and you like the way it looks, because it's kind of a pain to go back. And now with everything through, I'm just gonna take my two tails and I'm going to tie it together. And remember that how many beads you use for your candy single, there is no right or wrong. It's just whatever feels comfortable on your wrist. All right, so now I'm going to cut off both tails here. And from here, I am going to place this on and again, test the fit. I said to ignore this part for a reason, because we want to make sure that at first we have our candy single comfortably sat on our wrist, and then we're going to go ahead and measure out how many of these links we're going to need. For everyone, it is going to be different. Now, if you like the look where it's kind of more pulled down like this instead of like this, you will just skip the whole link thing entirely. I will put chapters in the video, just skip ahead. But if you do not want it to be pulled down like this and you want it to sit more like a regular candy single, stick around. So for me, I found that adding just about 3 links is what feels the most comfortable to me. So that's how many I'm going to do. Again, for everyone's hand, it's going to be different. So you just need to kind of measure and trial and error, and just keep adding until you get about here. I am going to take my string and I'm going to weave a single bead on. Now with my bead here, I'm going to take this string and I am going to weave it back through this bead. So whatever side your string is sticking out of, you're gonna weave the opposite. I'm going to take my string, I'm going to weave, and I'm going to pull. And you should look something like this. Now I'm going to take my string and I'm going to weave it back through here. So whatever side your string is sticking out of is the side of the bead where we're gonna weave again. So I'm gonna weave just like that, if that makes sense. I'm gonna pull this down and I'm going to pull. And that should create your first link, and we are going to do that all the way up. I'm gonna show you a few more times. Now I am going to take my string, weave it back through this bottom bead here. And then I'm gonna take this and I'm going to weave it back through. And I'm going to pull. And I'm going to do this one more time. I'm gonna take my string, I'm going to weave it through the opposite side of this bead here, and I'm going to pull. You want to make sure that you're pulling kind of tight. I'm going to take my string and I'm going to weave it back through here. Alrighty, so assuming that you've gotten to the amount of links that feel comfortable to you, I am just going to quickly tie this off just to hold everything together. So I'm just going to take my string, I'm going to weave it through this loop here. And I'm going to take my string through the little loop we made and I'm going to pull. And I'm going to pull tight. So we want to make sure that this stays together. All right, so that is what it will look like if you were adding the links to add extra length to yours. Regardless of how many links you add, or if you are skipping ahead from the video to just do one of these with no links, this part is going to look exactly the same. We are going to make the finger loop. Everyone's finger is different, so add as many beads as you find comfortable. For me, that was 11 extra beads. So on one end of our string, we're gonna add those beads. So for me, I'm just gonna do an alternating orange and blue. All right, and once you have as many beads on as you'd like, we are going to take our string and we are going to weave it through our top bead here. So again, whether that's at the top of your star or at the end of your links, we are just going to weave it through and pull. Alrighty. And then from here, just like how we were doing before, we are going to tie it off. So I'm going to take my string and I'm just going to make a little loop. Ooh. Make a little loop and I'm going to pull. Now, how tightly you go here is totally up to you. And what, again, fits most comfortable. Some people might like it looser, some people might like the feeling of it being more tight around their finger. It is totally up to you. But if you are using plastic string, I will recommend giving it quite a few ties. And once you tie it enough, we're just gonna give this a snip. And ta-da, you have your very own star glove. And we're just gonna go ahead and place that on. Just as simple as that. Alrighty, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped out anyone who was looking to learn. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave them in the comments below. This video, just like my previous videos, were based off suggestions. So if you have any suggestions for things that you'd like to see me make, leave them in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. Alrighty, my friends, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye-bye.